Good Saturday morning, everybody. I said that I would come back if I had anything that I wanted to share. Um, I had said to you, have a good weekend on Thursday, not realizing that it was Thursday. I thought it was Friday, so please forgive me. Lately, it seems like days just seem to blend into each other. So much is going on, and in recent days, a lot of stuff has been going on regarding the Chris Skinner case. And so I spent most of yesterday and some of this morning listening to the interviews that have been made available by the Steph's case files on YouTube. If you haven't watched it yet, please go by there this morning or whenever you get a chance. There's about five separate, and there might be some more coming, witness statements that are being given out. The latest one that I watched was Chris's sister and mother and their police interviews. I got to tell you, it's comical. Not the mother and sister, but the interviewers. One of the interviews was, I think, a friend of Chris's. I think he's a detective from another state. And it's so funny how they talk about the people who've been looking, me, Robbie Harvey, Steph, the rest of us, you know, uh, we've been called super sleuths, armchair quarterback detectives and investigators. I don't know, all these different things. And what's funny is we've done more work than they have. We've gotten more answers than they have. So shame on them. I mean, Myrtle Beach Police Department, the whole reason why this is coming back up is because they didn't do their job the first time. They lack integrity, professionalism, and well, they have the intelligence of a tsetse fly. They have all these resources to their fingertips, a lot more than I have, and yet we've been able to find more answers than they were willing to look for. And that's because my pockets aren't lined with John Paul Miller money. Theirs is. So they want to keep it an accident. They want to do that for Susie's, you know, I guess for her sake. But see, no matter how much they fight for Susie, it's not going to work out for her. And I think I figured out why. So now I know a lot of us thought and felt as if this was possibly homicide. And listen, it's not over till it's over. It's still being investigated. We know the feds are at least looking into that, okay? To at least rule it out. Let's put it that way. The feds are looking to rule out the possibility that the chair was manipulated. Because let's remember, even though Chris had suicide ideation, and that's all true, we also know that John Paul Miller had he had he was interested, he had interest weeks before in remote controlling the chair. And he probably felt that this was a prime, you know, uh, opportunity to rid of the guy because he was a threat. He challenged him. So, what better opportunity did he have than when this guy's going, I want to end it. I don't want to live anymore. Make it look like Chris did it to himself. So, the feds will figure it out. But let's just go along with the narrative that Chris did make the decision to do this to himself, okay? Now, I want to go according to a lot of what I've picked up listening to all these different, and I'm going to reiterate a few things you've already heard, and then I'm going to add a few things, all right? It seems as if, and it makes sense, if you look at the timeline, this was 2021 that this happened. Now, if we were to go according to suicide, 2020 is when we all got hit with, COVID and shutdowns, and, people who didn't have essential jobs weren't able to do what they normally did. And what kept Chris going? Well, it was to inspire and help others. This gave him purpose. It made him feel good. I'm not sure if he even made money at doing it. If it did, it was provision. So this it made him feel good. It gave him something to do. He had a big personality too. He loved being with people, talking with people. And that was all taken away from him. So if he would have still had that with this affair going on, he might have been able to keep going. But to have all of that taken away, simultaneously, his wife stops cleaning him, caring for him. A year, he claims, for 1 year, he didn't have a shower, he says to his mom. She claims, the mother, that from May to August straight in 21, she cared for him. But Susie had given up on him for an entire year. He wasn't really being cared for. Even the neighbors kind of pulled back. Now, why would the neighbors pull back? Were they being influenced by somebody? Kind of weird. So, wearing the same clothes all the time? She'd leave him crackers and water. Crackers and water? What was he, a bird? Now, he told people he felt like a burden. Of course he would. This was a woman that at one time they shared a loving relationship. Now, I have the transcripts, and I read to you a portion of that sermon that he sat in that church, which he did not like John Paul Miller. But he went to the church the day before he passed away. And I read to you what John Paul Miller said on that altar. And I can't even imagine how Chris must have felt, feeling this neglected, rejected, and feeling like a burden already, unloved, unwanted, having no purpose. And then to hear the man who's possibly having an affair with your wife, let me read it to you. Quote, "Whenever you have a hard time figuring out who you are, it's because a lot of times you've been in a manipulative relationship in the past. You've been abused. I can't tell you how many people in this church have been abused by somebody that was supposed to love them and protect them, and it caused them to hold back who God made them to be, and they feel like," and I gave this analogy last week, you feel like you're drowning, and that person, every time you came up for air, they're pushing you back down underwater, end quote. Okay? So it's hard not to think that he wouldn't take that opportunity, but we're going to go with Chris wanted to end it. Of course he's going to be sad. Of course he's going to be broken. His purpose was taken away by the psychotic government that we had in place at the time. And he didn't know if it was going to come back. He had no idea. Well, none of us knew it was going to go. We couldn't look into the future. Susie had stopped caring for him. He didn't know what his future looked like. His kids were still young. They were minors at the time. His dad wasn't well. It wasn't like he could run to his dad. I mean, he had his mom. He had his sister. But I'm sure he didn't want to burden them either. This was a guy who did think independently, believe it or not. There's only so much people can take. So, is it possible that Chris was broken to the point of wanting to end it? Sure. Absolutely. Some of the strongest people in the world can be brought to that point. Now, why would it be so important for Susie to make sure it was an accident? And why would it be so important for the moronic, low IQ, idiotic cops of Myrtle Beach to help her? Because it's very possible that she had double indemnity on that life insurance. See, if it's an accident, she most likely got a double payout on his life insurance. Suicide would have, after, a waiver of 2 years, she'd just get a regular payout. And that is possible. You can get a payout for a suicide, but you got to pass the 2 years. And most insurances have that. And them being together as long as they were probably past that 2 years. But for an accident, double indemnity, it has to be an accident. And suicide is not an accident. So it would have to stay an accident. So for example, if it was $1 million policy for an accident, she'd get $2 million. And that's why it was important. Can't buy that condo on the beach without that $2 million. Now, the idiotic and moronic female cop at Myrtle Beach was like, how would you like me to charge her? What charge would you like me to give her? Because I don't know the law. I'm an idiot. Well, let me help you, Officer Numbskull. In South Carolina, the very state that you live in, and I guess if you went to school and paid attention, the legal code addressing abuse and neglect of a vulnerable adult resulting in the death in South Carolina under Code 43-3585F, and I've stated this once before, the statute stipulates that a person who knowingly and willfully abuses or neglects a vulnerable adult leading to their death is guilty of a felony and upon conviction must be imprisoned for not more than 30 years. This law is part of an Omnibus Adult Protection Act, which defines a vulnerable adult as an individual aged 18 or older who has a physical or mental condition substantially impairing their ability to care for themselves, such as fails to provide essential care, food, hygiene, medical attention. You didn't understand that, Deputy Doofus? Okay, well, that's probably the charges that Tamra was talking about. And this is why, armchair quarterback, super sleuths have to come into play, because detective doofuses like you couldn't figure it out. So we had to take it upon ourselves. We don't get paid by the state or by the county. We had to stop our own lives and figure it out for ourselves. All we had to do was pick up our devices and look it up. It took me a total of, 10 minutes to get this information. You went to school for this. You must be proud. Idiot. So I'm so glad to know that the FBI is involved, because if they would have to rely on you, oh my God. Man, do I feel bad for South Carolina. And you know what? It's really odd. I mean, do they give you a job according to how stupid you are over there? Because in Georgia, the cops are absolutely incredible here. You don't mess with a Georgia cop. You just don't. I mean, it's like opposite here. And I'm talking about town cop to the cops on the highway. You don't mess with a Georgia cop. They just don't play. And I love that. That's why I feel protected here. They don't play with nobody. And they're good cops. Okay, you find a bad apple everywhere. But in the whole friggin' town of Myrtle Beach? You know what made me laugh? When they're talking about the snippet, okay, of a video that BoobTube was able to take and enhance it. And who is BoobTube and my husband to where they're able to enhance it? You're a police department. You're pathetic. I can't. Oh my God. Somebody's got to make. I got to go find, what's that guy on TikTok? His name is McLovin, the guy that did the show with me. He makes the most hysterical parodies. I've got to have him make a parody for Myrtle Beach Police Department, because they are dumber than a box of rocks. Absolutely amazing that they're talking to Tamra like, how would you like us to charge her? Well, what are you, wackadoo? She lied to you. She lied to the police. Let's start off with the lying. Okay, she lied to you about that there was no family in the area. Not even to look into, was she paid out double indemnity? Nothing. You know why? Because they're working for John Paul. It's always been about John Paul. Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you something. I learned that the first time I drove through, and I live here, okay? I got pulled over. It was back in 16 or 17, coming back from Florida. And I was hauling ass, I'll admit it. And I was down by Valdosta, I think it was. Oh my goodness. And he had his hand on his weapon walking up to my car. Now, Florida cops aren't, the highway patrol, they're just as bad. But I mean, they've never walked up to my car with their hand on, on their weapon. I mean, gee, I had one officer show up at my door to ask a question, and he looked like he was filled armor, top to, toe to head to toe. He looked like he was ready for a war. And I was like, gee whiz, officer, what's happening? And all he was like, ma'am, can I ask you a question? And it was like something so small and stupid. And I was like, wow, I thought he was here to, I don't know what. But you know what? God bless it. I'm glad to know that that's what surrounds me. Because if I was surrounded by Myrtle Beach Police Department, I'd be very upset. I'd be pissed off to know that that's where my tax dollars go to. We could only hope, Mary. We could only hope. I'm telling you, I could see why God is so angry. I feel very, very bad for the really good citizens of Myrtle Beach, because they have to put up with that. Yeah, and listening to him, he sounded very angry. It hurt me to listen to him. Because he wasn't a well man to begin with, and when you hear somebody who's not well and then have to get angry like that, it breaks my heart. They didn't have to because they're Keystone. Somebody had said they're dumber than Keystone cops. They weren't there to ask important questions. This is why the feds had to get involved. They don't care. And that coroner, yeah. Oh yeah, just me, probably a good cop. So all the more we have to push this online protest. All the more. And there was a video. I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify. The video that I put out yesterday, call into action. That was not. I did not create that video. That video was created by Tamara. She had sent it to me and she'd asked me to share it. I should have clarified that when I don't know why I didn't do it. She said, "Oh, please get it out there." I said, "Okay, sure." And I just sent it out there. I ripped it off of YouTube. And I shared it on all the platforms. She didn't mind it. She just wanted it out there. So that's what I did. But it's not mine. It's not my work. It's hers. So I just wanted to clarify that. But I wanted to get it on all the platforms. And that's why I ripped it from YouTube. So that's it. Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, he does. And just, you're already like nervous with it and you're upset under the circumstance. And then having to talk about something like that, I mean, I don't know. I just felt for him throughout that interview. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. And that was hers. That's what it was. Yeah. There she is. There she is. She's going to go live today. There you go, everybody. Look for Tamara. She's going live today. Okay. Make sure you look for her. So I'm sorry. I'm Tamara. I was talking about listening to, I think really what set me off was listening to your and your mother's interview. And that, yes. Listening to the female, I guess that was the police chief, I'm assuming. Or female officer. What a bonehead. How would you like me to charge her? That set me off. Danielle, where have you been, girl? That was Deputy Coroner. Okay, I'm sorry. I pray this coroner is going to do her job, because what do you mean? How are you going to okay, maybe the coroner doesn't have the ability to do those charges. I don't know. I just said them. I just gave the charges. Your mother made it perfectly clear what the charges are. The video will oh my God. Well, if you have text that proves that he said this, there's a saying, there's an expression, and some of you may know. Yeah, please. What time are you going on, Tamara? Well, this is why the feds have to get involved. But there's a term. Some of you may have heard it. The only way is the military, And I'm really starting to feel that way. The only reason, and what that means is that's against law enforcement. Sometimes I feel like law enforcement, we got to go over the heads of law enforcement. I don't know. I guess the FBI can arrest local law enforcement, but I feel like Myrtle Beach Police Department needs to be held accountable for too many things, way too many cases. North Myrtle Beach, Horry County, they have really dropped the ball way too many times. It was the coroner, yeah, and yeah, I was set off too. Yeah, I was set off. I couldn't even finish my coffee. Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, you know what, Danielle? With us as a group, they'll have no choice. We're going to push it. He didn't miss anything. She missed giving it to her, to giving it to him. It was her. It was her. She missed it. She was supposed to give him the meds. Yeah, it sounded as if Tamara's mother or Chris and Tamara's mother got upset. No, it's never a waste when you're fighting. Yeah. Waiting to see what Tamara says about what time. Did she say what time? Yeah, that female. Well, that was the coroner. That the female, and remember, this was back in February. Things have changed. Okay, and we went over. I think it was March when we all went over the video. And I think it was around March or late March, beginning of April, when it was BoobTube that enhanced it, when we had the show here, when we shared it with the feds. You know, so things might have changed and accelerated a little bit since then. So we can't go according to these interviews. It's not as if it just happened. Okay, here we go. Okay, is that you, Tamara? This must be Tamara. Yes, this is Tamara. Okay, is this another channel you'd like everybody to follow? Everybody follow Assured, Impact, and Chris Skinner Matters. Okay? And all of those interviews were on Steph's case files, by the way, in case anybody hasn't seen it. We know who opened the gate to the pool. Right. This is where the video is that I had sent all over yesterday. So that's where the video came from. Yes, that I had sent all over. This is where it came from. But it's still Tamara, and it's still part of their family. Right. Right on, Mary. Tamara, you may not have heard me. What time are you going to go live today? On Assured Impact. Noon. So everybody, now not on here, but a short impact at noon. Let me just put that down here. Tamara's going to go live. Please make sure you watch. Okay, there you go. There you go. Very good. Very good. Okay, making sure. All right. And if anybody's going to go on TikTok, do me a favor, Danielle, YouTube, if you don't mind, hun, just share with everybody. YouTube, on YouTube. If you don't mind, just share it on TikTok. Let everybody know. I'll try to as well to make sure everybody knows to come here at noon Eastern Standard Time. Because we got people all over. Believe it or not, global. People globally will watch her. So, do you know, Tamara, thank you, Danielle. Thank you. Do you know if any more interviews will be coming out? Or any more witness statements? Will be coming out. I'm just kind of curious. Both Micah and Chris are talked about globally. I've got people that come into the chat from all over. Yeah, nobody cares about them. No. No, but the coroner's still open, right? Yeah, Steph's case files. Well, all day yesterday she was putting stuff out. The coroner's still open though, right? Puerto Vision, and they said I don't want to go. Well, but if Myrtle Beach Police Department closed, why would they go there? I guess they would go to the coroner at this point, right? Or is Myrtle Beach helping her question the witnesses? They shouldn't help at all. They shouldn't be part of anything, to be honest with you. Coroner should just do the questioning. You know what? You know who should really be doing the questioning? The feds. If the feds are doing a parallel investigation with that coroner, it really should be the feds. They're better at it. I mean, I don't know if she's a good interviewer. Oh, absolutely. They're not police. They're nothing. They're nobody. The mailman could do a better job at this than they have. And North Myrtle Beach dropped the ball with cases like Amber Birbiglia. Myrtle Beach and Horry County have dropped the ball with your brother and Micah. And I'm sure that these are not the only cases they've dropped the ball with. You know, so just listening to the interviews, it was like, she was the bag boy at Kroger could do a better job. It's pretty pathetic. And what makes me laugh is how they're talking about us. You know, armchair detective. Really? Well, this armchair detective did a better job than you did. You know, where's she at? That good old boy thing, that whole thing has to die out. Because all that's doing is well, it's really doing nothing. That club really has, somebody's going to shut the doors of that club. I don't, you know why? It's a good question, but I have no idea, Danielle. Yeah, like Robeson County. Just like Robeson County. Yeah, no, I know. No, I know. There's no feds that they could talk to or feds that could take a statement. Oh, you did? Okay, good. Oh, good. Well, maybe this one too then. Maybe this one too. Yeah. Oh, you know, yeah, I figured that. And you know what? They don't need to they don't need to be asked about it. Yeah, forget it, Debbie. They don't know how to do it. Forget it. No. I think that's one of the reasons why she's gone, Donna. I think that's one of the reasons why she's gone. Um, well, it's more than that, Danielle. If it accidental, she gets paid twice. She or double. I think she got a double indemnity. That's what I think. And I think that they got a little bit of kickback. I think some of these cops at Myrtle Beach got a kickback. So, to support that kickback, you got to support her. Meaning Susie. And so you got to support the narrative that it was an accident. No. No. You can't because the corruption is deep with those people. Who's Chip? Who's Chip, Cindy? Anyway, yeah. I wouldn't even talk to them anymore. Tamara, there's nothing to say to them. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. They talk about the YouTubers, they talk about the family, they talk about all these people that are brought up or either we're reporting on it or questioning it or doing shows on it or picking apart parts of the case. And armchair detectives or super sleuths or all these stupid little conspiracy theorists and these idiotic people who lack critical thinking have these terms, and they've got the IQ of a turnip. They can't think outside of a box. So if the police say it's an accident, that's it, end of the story. These are the same people that watch CNN, and so they just stick to the same script with everything in life. And so when you've got people like me, you got people like Robbie Harvey, you got people like Steph, you got people like JLR, you got people like CJ who go, no, this don't look right. It doesn't sound right. And all the people in this audience who go, you know what? John Paul's announcement doesn't make sense. Or you know what? This guy driving himself into the pool doesn't make sense. When he's a motivational speaker, something's wrong. So because we question it, we're the ones who are the problem. So when the family goes, oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't make sense. These people are correct. Let's question it. We're all nuts. It's like living in, what do they call it? Jerry Seinfeld used to call it. It was like a topsy turvy world, where everything was upside down. You know, they're the nut jobs that they could sit back. I mean, if it was their family, if it was their loved one, they would want everybody to just brush it under the rug and go, well, that's it. That's all. This is what we're going to call it, and we'll just leave it at that. No truth, no getting to the bottom line, no figuring out what really happened. We're just going to leave it at that. Even if there was a lack of justice or somebody got away with something bad, we're just going to leave it at that. I don't think so. I don't care if you're president of a fraternity. I don't care if you're this. I don't care what title you call yourself. If this guy was brought to this point, being a motivational speaker, and I get it, I understand. 2021, he went an entire year without being able to inspire people. This is what kept him going for 21 years. And you parallel that with this selfish, whiny woman, okay, who all of a sudden turns on him. You can blame John Paul Miller all day long. She made a conscious decision to be with John Paul Miller. Nobody put a weapon to her head. She made a conscious decision, okay? So when she did that, and she decided not to care for him anymore, and he feels like a burden, on top of the fact that he's not able to inspire people anymore, you've lowered this man's, and you've crushed his spirit so much that he's having thoughts of driving in front of moving vehicles, that he's looking to drive himself into lakes. Well, you know what? Let me read it to you again. Let me read it to you one more time, because you could send this, Tamara. You could send this to SLED, the Attorney General's office, South Carolina Code 433585. Let me say it one more time. South Carolina Code 43-35-85F. This statute stipulates that a person who knowingly and willfully abuses or neglects a vulnerable adult, leading to their death, is guilty of a felony, and upon conviction must be imprisoned for not more than 30 years. Okay? Part of that is being a caregiver. And a vulnerable adult is an individual aged 18 or older that has a physical or mental condition substantially impairing their ability where they cannot care for themselves, where they fail to provide themselves essential care like food, hygiene, medical attention. And because they did not give them this care as their caretaker, it results in their death. And that's including suicide. Okay? And they also refer to this as negligent manslaughter. So yes, there are charges. There are charges. Now, why is it I was able to find that, but they were not able to find that? I don't understand that. You're a coroner. You've got, not only do you have a master's degree, you have a PhD, you're an MD, and you weren't able to find that? You weren't able to look that up and see that there are charges in your state for that very thing, and you're a coroner? Wow. Wow, dude. Just wow. I'm not impressed at all. At all. Mm-mm. Yeah. Not impressed at all. No. So, I mean, call it a rant or whatever you want to call it. It is sad. It's very sad. It's not as if I didn't have a life before this happened to Micah. It's not as if all of us didn't have lives. I don't do this for a living. Okay. I felt compelled because this was a pastor's wife that was brought to this point. And then to see what happened to Chris, it was just added. It's like obvious that there's an injustice. And then it's obvious, excuse me, that there's a law enforcement deficiency in these areas, not just in Myrtle Beach, not just in South Carolina, but also in North Carolina and Robeson County. Like, what the hell is going on over there? So maybe we wouldn't have to go and put ourselves out there and correct what they're getting paid to do if they did their job. Does that make sense? And there are actual laws out there for when you neglect a disabled person, especially as a caretaker. You can't go a year from showering a disabled person who's in a wheelchair to where they end up getting bed sores. Let me tell you something about those bed sores, okay? Because I've had patients with those sores. Those bed sores can become so infected that it can get into their bloodstream and kill them. That's how bad they are. And they're painful. And let me get into pain. Chronic pain, what that does to, and I can tell you this from experience, chronic pain causes a psychological, it affects people psychologically. I mean, it's chronic, even with medication. And the combination of the two can cause people to feel down and depressed. So you've got all of this together, right? You've got the chronic pain, you got the medication, you've got the fact that he's not able to do what he loves to do, which was inspiring others and talking to other people. And then you've got the person that he loves, the person that he is supposed to be caring for him, doesn't care about him anymore, isn't paying attention to him anymore. And he's not supposed to be broken. He's not supposed to be hurt. I would be, wouldn't you? And you don't think there's charges that go with that? Of course there are. But because we've got people in South Carolina who have the professionalism of somebody that came out of a Cracker Jack box, they don't go to look to see because they're so worried about how much John Paul Miller can line their pockets. Why is Al Capone always brought up when it comes to John Paul Miller? Is he like a wannabe Italian, John Paul Miller? Go to prison for tax reasons. They couldn't pin the other crimes on him, but they were able to secure conviction. So I don't know. Why would Al Capone come up right now? Are we looking to do that to John Paul Miller? I don't know. I have no idea. But getting back to what I was saying, there are absolute. How many people have come forward in all of these in all of these interviews? Almost all of them have said that Chris told them she had given up on him. She wasn't caring for him anymore. She was having an affair. Like, what do you need? What did you need? A billboard on I-95? I mean, how much evidence do you need? Well, it's hearsay. Okay. You're not a lawyer. You're not a judge. Just take down the evidence and let it be figured out in court. Okay? Hold on, guys. I have to walk away from the computer for a second. 1 second. See, I told you it was 1 second. I had to go grab a bay water. It's the most amazing thing. The more water you drink, the more water you need. All right, well, let's just break this down. I'm not going to go on and on because we're pretty much at an hour. And I want to make sure that you guys do go listen to Tamara this afternoon. We know that Myrtle Beach Police Department dropped the ball. This is the whole reason why we're here together this whole year. They dropped the ball on Micah. They dropped the ball on Chris. We know that Susie failed Chris. Selfishly. She'd given up on the marriage. She'd given up on him, on caring for him. If you listen to the interview of Trisha's daughter, it's hard to understand as a mother. I have a grown daughter, and many of you out there probably do too. You have grown kids. We all have grown kids. And I can't imagine going an entire year without hearing from my child. I'm sorry. God is the only thing that could stop me or get between me and my own child. Okay? Now, my kids are older. They're independent. You know, I may go a week or two without hearing from them on the phone or whatever. I mean, I'll see them on Facebook, or, you know, I'll message them in Messenger, or, you know, stuff like that, because, you know, they're busy with their kids or working and, you know, whatever. But you're talking about an entire year of not seeing them, of not talking to them, and not having a relationship. For what? John Paul Miller? Or over a church? Since when? Please show me the scripture that says, give up your family for your church. Please show me. I'll wait. I'll sit here and wait. Just show me the scripture. I'm waiting. Please. Please, Trisha, show me that scripture. How do you justify that? Not talking to your kids, not seeing your grandkids over a church. I don't understand it. This man has caused more division and more chaos than anybody I've ever come across in my life. So I don't know if it's that, you know, we used to talk about elites, you know, when in the truther community. And their MO was, when they wanted to get people to do things for them, they would trick people into doing stuff they normally didn't want to do. And then they would get proof of it and then hold it over their heads like blackmail. And they would say, okay, now you're going to do what I want you to do, or I'm going to use this blackmail against you. This is what they do in politics, believe it or not. And so sometimes I wonder if this is what John Paul does to a lot of these people in the church. This is probably what he's got over these 70 people that are still standing, because I can't understand if after everything that's come out, why would you still be standing by his sign unless A, you're part of the criminality, or B, he's got something on you? Because how do you give up your family? I mean, are you all getting together and having orgies? I mean, what's the deal? Are you all doing, are you his drug mule? I mean, what's explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old because I don't get it. I mean, Susie, I get, she got a diamond out of the deal, but I mean, Trisha, what are you getting? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. Help me to understand the relationships. And all I could think of is there's some sort of a criminal enterprise going on. And that's why it's taken so long. And you've sacrificed your families over this. And this poor man, I think if Chris would have known the truth, meaning if he would have heard all of us talk about the activities that were really going on, the criminality, the truth behind that church, he would have never done that. He would have never done this. Maybe he would have joined our community. Who knows? Maybe he would have joined the community and helped us fight. Who knows? It's just amazing. I'm just amazed. All kinds of things. All kinds of things. And let me say something. This church is not being funded by itself. There are larger ministries that are helping out. Much, much larger. With a lot more money. And, I hate having to repeat myself because it's just as annoying for me to say it to you as for you to hear it. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but there's going to be a time where God's fist is going to finally hit and they're going to end up, it's not going to be long. We're not going to go through decades of having to wait. I don't even think we're going to have to wait years, but I can't tell you the date and time. I wish I knew the date and time. But people like me, I don't sleep anymore. You can hear it in my voice. If you listened to me a year ago, I sound different than I do today. I got a message from Tracy in the middle of the night. She caught me awake and she goes, "What are you doing awake?" She forgets she's awake to even send me the message. So, I mean, we don't sleep anymore because it's like you could feel it in the spirit that something's happening, but it's like, when, Lord? And then you hear the prophets saying, God's angry. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. And if he's so angry, how long do we think that God is going to stay angry and do nothing? Do we really think he's going to sit there and just stay angry? I don't. I can't imagine that. It's not like nothing is happening in the world. There's a lot happening in the world. Nothing's happened in our world yet. The world of Micah and Chris. And the key word in that sentence is yet. Okay? That doesn't mean nothing's going to happen. That just means it hasn't happened yet. That's what's important here, okay? So once again, we just have to keep fighting and stay patient. I know that's hard to say. But trust me, it's hard to do. But anyway, I don't know if Tamara answered me or not. I took my glasses off, but are there any more interviews, do you know, Tamara, that are coming up? Any more? I think she did answer me. And if she did, please forgive me because I'm very tired. But I did want to give you at least a response. I think she got, meaning she, Susie, double indemnity. I think that's the problem. A double payout from insurance. And I have a feeling it was large, which might be a problem if they change it over from accidental to suicide. Um, I think it went just like all these cars and houses and whatnot. I think it went right into John Paul's pockets. I'm sorry. I just believe it did. I think it controls everything, and that's including the money. I really do. I hate to say that. I hate to say it, but I believe that that's how they do things. I also believe that there are charges. Crystal, there's text on the video. Like if you're watching, it's on the video. And then there's also transcript that YouTube gives you. Text on the video might be better to follow than the actual transcript for her dad. 8, there's 8. Oh, hold on, guys, let me see. I only saw 5. So let me see. I did not see 8. So let me see. It might be me. Okay, so let me see. Oh, well, there's a new one that just went up 32 minutes ago. Hold on. Lovely. Next. More to watch. Okay, so here's Susie's full. Dear God. Okay, remember, guys, drink some wine. Don't forget. Chris Skinner's college best friend is up. Mom and sister. Another best friend. So there's 2 new ones here. And the father, Trisha's daughter-in-law, frat brother. Okay. Oh, the mom and the sister they're in one video together, but I guess they're seen as 2 different interviews. So that makes sense. So there's 2 more videos that just went up. And one is Susie. So it's a 30-minute one. So it's going to be 30 minutes of nails on a chalkboard. And then this is a Chris Skinner's college friend. So it is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna listen to that when I get off of here. And if there's any, and I'm gonna go through the as I said, and I promised I would, and I will do that this weekend. And I read to you an excerpt, but there's more. Because remember, Chris left that church service pissed off. So I want to go over why he was pissed off. And like I said, I gave you an excerpt of what John Paul said on the altar that day. The day before Chris died. Yeah, yeah, you could follow the transcript. Absolutely. Instead of listening to there's no description of listening to that screeching craziness. Anyway, so thank you guys for joining me. Tamara, if you want any information on that legal stuff, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Anything new comes up, guys, I'll jump on and share it with you. I'm going to go listen to those 2 other interviews, mostly the friend. And like I said, I'm going to go over that church service, and then I'll probably share that with you Monday if nothing new comes up between now and Monday. Okay, so until I see you guys again, please stay safe and God bless.